Right, so you want to make yourself a set of speakers. So you start with some plans, and well, these plans are in German, and they're free for non-commercial use. So I'm not selling them or making money or trying to sell the plans or building speakers and selling them to people. I think I'm okay. Then you're going to need to make some cabinets. And you need to make some crossovers. You need to do some fill. You're also going to need some wire to go between the crossovers and the drivers, which are not indicated in here, and also to go from your loudspeakers to your amplifier. And you probably need a few bits and bobs, like maybe some banana, some terminals or sockets, whatever you want to call them, so that your cables can plug into it. Maybe you want some spikes, but again, it depends on what you want to do. And then maybe you want to veneer it afterwards, or maybe you want to paint the cabinet. That's kind of optional. You can go either way. So first things first, you need to get the board, and then you need to get the board cut. So I'm going to use MDF because the board size of MDF is larger, and I could just buy one sheet. If I wanted to use plywood, I would have had to buy 2 sheets. I'm planning to veneer it, so if I was going to use plywood, it would kind of just be covered up. So not really the best benefit there. Let's take these and turn them into a cutting list. You kind of work on the dimensions, so at least it's 1 meter tall, so 1,000 mils. So anything like the front panel or the back panel, you can see the back panel here. It's going to be 1,000 mils, and I thought it was going to be 200 mils wide. It's not actually. It's actually 168 mils. You should kind of work out here because this is the side panels, which are not really indicated anywhere else. And go on the the left and the right from either side, like a bit of a sandwich design. So this is what you can see here is the middle of the sandwich, and then you've got on the sides. And basically only indicated here, and then cut off so you can't even see it. I mean, this is not the way to do technical drawing. Sorry, German dude. I mean, these plans are for free for non-commercial use. So I'm just building them to listen to. So what I would have done is just drawn a solid line here to indicate that it was, well, this bit here or this bit here on each side. Then I probably would have gone, oh, wait, it's probably only 168. The 16 mils times 2 is 32. 200 minus 32 is 168. So, cutting list. This is what I got to. And in fact, we can probably use this. So we've got the front and the back. Originally, I made this 200 mils wide, and then I took the plans or the cutting list to the board shop, and they cut it for me, and then I had to cut them down, which is why I'm a little bit sour about that. But again, maybe this is how you do technical drawings in Germany, and it's for free, so I shouldn't really complain too much. Anyway, so what I did is you need 2 fronts and 2 backs because there are 2 speakers, so we go to a grand total of 4. Anyway, then we have a left and a right. The sides, again, there's 2 lefts, 2 rights because there's 2 speakers. So again, we've got 4 of those. Then I went with top minus 1 and bottom, which to me this is the top, that's top minus 1, and that's bottom. This is just for my purposes to reference it. I mean, you can call it whatever you like. You can call that middle, for example, instead of top minus 1. I mean, right now I know these plans so well from having worked with them that, yeah, I mean, I could literally probably build it in my sleep. The 352 here is because, again, the external dimension is 384, but because the board thickness is 16 mils plus 16 mils, you need to subtract 32 from 384, and that's how we get to 352. That's why this is bold. It's actually because I had to subtract. I suppose I should have kept that bold as well. Yeah, then we've got the internal vertical, which is this one, which we know is 168 because we've got this over here. So this is a nice piece because it's 153 and 168. We've got both dimensions. And then that'll give us these tweeter walls left and right, which are these 2 pieces here, which I definitely would because otherwise you wouldn't be able to cut through it like that. And yeah, again, I had to subtract 16 because they just don't mention, it's 153 is to this, this vertical divider to the front. So you subtract the thickness of the board, that's how you get 137. So there's a whole lot of, you better figure out exactly what these plans mean in order to get this cutting list. The 630 is in bold again. This is to me just like this vertical, I'm calling it a baffle. It's more like a vertical divider, but I didn't want to confuse it with that one, so I just called it baffle. Instead of like a front baffle, I suppose it's the internal, whatever, slanted divider. You can call it whatever you like. I made it slightly longer than 630 because I wanted to be able to cut this off, parallel effectively, but at a slight angle so that it wouldn't have a 90-degree here, and then you tilt this thing and then you've got a gap in the front. So it's cut off. I worked out that 636 mils will give me enough to be able to cut some off. Probably would have been able to do it slightly less than that, but it depends on the thickness of your saw blade. Cool. Yeah, I did translate all the German. I used Yandex Translate. You could also use deep learning, I suppose, or if you insist on using Google to tell them everything you're doing, help them track you and figure out what you like to advertise to you, then yeah, do that. Basically, it says a few things which are useful here. In fact, you need to know this. It's 4.2 mils deep. The A part here is the actual cutout. It's just like this inner hole here. It goes right through. You can see them here. You can see the little recess right there. That's the 4.2 mils that is cut out. That's because the speaker, it's the shape of the speaker really. And it's the flange of the speaker where you bolt it on. Yeah, what else? You can also see this is basically beveled. It would be nice if they said, say, 45 or 60 degrees. I've got no idea. 60 probably would have worked better from what I can work out. I used 45, which is why I say 60 is probably would have been better. Oh yeah, they've got the full. They talk about the port length and the port diameter, which is very important because this port, the length and the diameter is sized and also calculated for a specific frequency that the box is tuned for, the cabinet. And we've got the fill here. They talk about polyester wadding tightly compressed. So this is, to me, is like a futon pad is what I ended up buying and cutting up. And same with this and this. And this is loose stuff. They refer to sonofill and lightly pressed. They mentioned the 80 mils here below this porter here. And 30 to 40 mils between, underneath this port, the base port. This is for the driver. A couple of other little things. This, I believe, is actually lined with this polyester wadding again, tightly compressed, and then lightly filled with like sonofill stuff as well. They didn't put it on the plans for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's to make sure that you have to be German or be able to read German. I can't read German. Did that for all the wadding stuff. I just bought a futon pad for a single bed, so 1,370 mils, 137 centimeters by 188 centimeters, and that was plenty. And it was like 140, just under 144 rand, including VAT at 15%, which is our tax, from Racketech in Epping, which is in Cape Town. So yeah, that's what you really need for the cabinet. The cabinet actually took me the longest part to build, although the making it 200 mils wide and then to cut it down was part of that. For this one, I just broke it down. I worked out all the components, separated them into, these are all the resistors that they mention, and just numbered them like they've numbered them here. Same with the capacitors. Also, C1 becomes C1, and then the inductors, which are use L for the symbol. Millihenry is the most important. Figured out where to get them. This I bought from somebody. He adjusted them, measured them, and adjusted them by like hand unwinding part of the coils to get the millihenries, the inductors to match perfectly. Here was just making up. I couldn't buy 15 microfarad capacitors, so then you'd add 10 and a 4 and a 0.33 to try and get there, which doesn't work quite as well because when you actually measure them, I'm not sure if they're going to have the exact measurements, but if you had enough capacitors, you could actually make it up, and if you can measure them accurately enough. But yeah, these big ones like a 47 UF and a 39 UF, you're not going to find anywhere. Well, maybe you'll find them if you've got a very specialized shop. But yeah, so you add two 22s, get 44, you get to plus another 2.2, you get to 46.2, and you add a 0.82, and you're supposed to get to 47. So that's basically the approach. Where I could match them, obviously I'm going to go buy a 10. I'm not going to try and buy 2.5 or 2.4.7s and, to mess around like that, because it gets a lot bulkier and it gets harder and harder to put on a crossover. So where I could find a 10, like that's a 22 that I could find, because it calls for it, easy, then I buy that. Where I couldn't, you have to add them together, split them in parallel. I'll tackle that when I build the crossovers in more detail. If you can find metal oxide, those are the better ones. If you can't find metal oxide, then go for wire wound, will also work. Poly is what you want for the capacitors, polypropylene, polyester, so better than electrolytic for various reasons, including self-healing and sounding better apparently. Well, I don't think I have ears that are that good. that's what the crossover is. I broke it down into 3 parts. I mean, here it's already diagrammed as 3 parts. I'm calling that the woofer, the mid, and the tweeter, just for ease of reference. So I've made 3 separate crossovers, and they all, they all have a positive in, and they all have a ground out, which are these little arrows. So you can just combine the grounds between all 3 of them, and then you have one crossover unit of 3 parts, and you have a positive. You just split it into 3, and well, there we go, right? Make sure you send it to the speaker each time from the right one. It's kind of simple. So yeah, let's get busy building the thing, eh? Cutting it up. Because if you want to do it the easy way, if you can find somebody who does cabinetry, get them to build this for you. That was the most time-consuming part, especially having to route these things out. I've never owned a like electric router kind of device, so I had to buy one and learn how to use it. Not too hard, but still slowed me down. But new learning things, right, all the time.